Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race Race and Strategy Guide. We're off to Germany. It's the Nurburgring GP track once again, and we are highly likely to be in the Group 3 machinery. Now the reason I say highly likely is because the details for this week's race are a little bit sketchy before they go live. We don't know the full details, so I've kind of used some educated guesses to fill in the rest of the details. We've got 10 laps to get around. That's a guess, but it usually is around about 10 laps around the Nurburgring GP in Group 3. We do know the tyre wear is going to be at times 8 and the fuel is going to be at times 2. The medium and hard tyres are both available. It's very likely that both of them are going to be mandatory. BOP is going to be on. Damage is light, it's a rolling start, and slipstream is real. It should be the Group 3 cars. Again, that's based on guesswork given the fact we've had Group 4 for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about why we've not got the details and maybe what's going to be happening with these videos going forward when we get to a little bit later on in the video. The test car we're going to use for this one is going to be the BMW M6 Sprint model. Now, since we last did this combination, it was around about 4 months ago, and this is actually the third time we've done Group 3 at the Nurburgring GP in Gran Turismo 7 for Daily Race C. There has been some kind of updates to the game, one being a rather major physics update, so the cars are a little bit slower, and there's also an update to the way the tyre wear works as well from last time we did it. So the tyres last a little bit longer now. Last time we did this combo, tyre wear was at times 7, fuel was at times 3. We've now got the tyre wear at times 8 and the fuel at times 2. But because of those changes to the tyre wear, the tyres actually last a little bit longer than the last time we ran this combination, despite the fact we are running a higher tyre multiplier this time round. You catch my drift, hopefully, from what I'm saying in that, but we'll cover all the strategy things in the tyre life and what to do in terms of the strategy just a bit later on in the video. Before we get to that, I do want to have a brief discussion about car selection. Now, as I said, since the last time we did this combination, we have had a fairly major physics update to the game. It made the cars a little bit slower. There's also been some balance of performance updates in the interim as well, so I have no idea what's going to be the best car around here. It is likely it's going to be the usual suspects from Group 3 that have been strong in recent weeks. So you're looking at your Nissan GTR from 2018. I'd imagine the Toyota Supra is going to be pretty decent. You're going to have, I think the Subaru BRZ will be good. The Porsche will of course be good around here. But given this track doesn't have a particularly long straight, what you tend to find in the game, if you don't have a particularly long straight, you can generally coax a fairly competitive lap time out of the vast majority of the cars. So there should be a decent amount of car selection available for this one, certainly in terms of time trial. Now when it comes to the race, it's going to be a tyre wear race, and what that generally means if it's a tyre wear race is the Nissan GTR from 2018, which seems to operate on a slightly different tyre wear model to many of the other cars in terms of it just doesn't lose any performance whatsoever until you sort of wear the tyres down round to about 25%. For most other cars, once you kind of wear the tyres more than 50%, you do start to get a significant drop off in performance. So my guess is it will be the Nissan GTR for race trim, just purely because of that tyre wear. Now, as you can see here on the screen, we have gone all the way to lap 9. Now my prediction is this going to be a 10 lap race, and you can see we've still comfortably got plenty of tyres left on the BMW, which is certainly not the best car on tyre wear as far as I'm aware. Now the lap times have held up fairly steady all the way through to lap 7, and then lap 8 is where I kind of noticed the tyres start to just dip off in performance a little bit. Coming through one of the sector times here, you're going to see we're 8 tenths down on our best lap, so this is lap 9, so you can definitely see by the time you get to lap 8, lap 9, the tyres have started to degrade, but we're still within a second of our best lap, which would suggest that we wouldn't be any faster on a set of hard tyres at this point. So in terms of strategy, you're literally looking at running the medium tyres for 9 laps, maybe 8 laps if you're a little bit harsh on the tyres, certainly no more than 7 laps. You know, I'm talking about the most harsh drivers on the tyres. You're still going to do 7 laps on the medium tyres. So you're looking at people who are going to be pitting at the end of lap 1, end of lap 2, and if they don't pit at the end of lap 1, at the end of lap 2, they're going to go all the way to lap 9. just as we have done here. So let's come into the pits, let's take a look at this pit loss. No real concerns about the white line, just make sure as you exit the chicane you're already committed to the pits. If you make a late decision you will cut over the red and white curb and it kind of indicates the white line for the pit entry, and you'll pick up a 3-second penalty. And do be careful, you do have to drive the last corner in the pit lane as well, and it's easy to go in there a little bit too vigorously and end up in the barrier. Do not be that driver. Into the pit box we come now. We're going to change our fairly worn medium tyres onto a fresh set of hard tyres. Do be careful of the white line on the exit. Usually you've got a white line that kind of runs across the track just there. Just brake just before that and you should make it into turn 1 without too much of an issue. Overall, you're going to lose about 22 seconds in the pits, and fuel is going to be no issue whatsoever. So if you're pitting at the end of lap 9, you're looking at that gap behind you. As long as you're 22 seconds ahead of the car, you should come out just in front of them. In terms of the hard tyres, you know, they're going to be about a second off a fresh set of mediums. So as I said, you're going to be running those mediums very deep into the race or getting rid of your hard tyres very, very early on. In terms of finishing time, you're looking at around about 20 minutes. So again, I am guessing this is going to be 10 laps. I'm pretty sure it will be 10 laps. But it's a decent length of daily race C. 20 minutes is always at least what we're looking for in terms of race length. So let's just have a wee discussion about your strategy options for this one. As demonstrated, your medium tyres are going to last the full 9 laps if you require that of them. Certainly 8 laps for the vast majority of people. If you are completely terrible on tyres, you may just only get the 7, but I can't really see too many drivers falling under that category even if you're on the pad. But yeah, what it will sort of make for is a kind of a strategy race where you'll have people running 2 very different races. You're going to have the people who start on the hard tyres and they pit at the end of lap 1 or the end of lap 2. I wouldn't see any reason to go to the end of lap 3 if you start on the hard tyres. You'll just get undercut by everyone around you. And you might have slightly better tyres towards the end, but it's not going to be enough to make a significant amount of progress. And then you're going to have the people who start on the medium tyres and then run to the end and maybe pit at the end of lap 8 or possibly lap 9. Now, in a lot of these races, when you've got the hard and medium tyres, most people will start on the hard tyres because generally you would run about a third of the race, and if you started on the medium tyres, your race would be significantly compromised by you getting stuck behind a hard tyre runner. It's not really going to be the case in this one because people are going to be dumping those hard tyres so quickly. If you start on the medium tyres, you could just see the track open up in front of you after the end of the first lap, then just giving you a clear track to then run your laps and hopefully get a good result that way. Remember, strategy is all about just trying to find a bit of clear track so you can run the lap times that you know you can do. And I think it's going to be an interesting race from that perspective because there will be a number of ways to try and find that clear track. So yeah, quite looking forward to this one in terms of strategy. And yeah, I think the fact, you know, it looks one-dimensional on the face of it, but because of the fact that you can kind of try and find that clear bit of track in a couple of different ways, it should be quite interesting as the week unfolds. Now, one other thing I want to cover on this video is that the future of these race and strategy guides are a little bit in jeopardy. Now, PD do not reveal the details for these races. The details are revealed by Nenkai on Twitter. However, he did say he was kind of getting bored, or it was too much work for him to reveal the details, and he was thinking of stopping doing it, and it looks like this week he has just decided to abandon revealing the details. Now, there is a couple of other folk out there who do a bit of data mining. I'll give them a quick mention. You've got James 0807, friend of the channel, and we've got RA Shadow, another friend of the channel, who are able to extrapolate some of the data but not all of it, so they can give you the tyre and fuel multipliers, the track, the tyres, but they can't give you the laps and they can't give you the car category. Now, I was able to kind of educated guess for this one and, you know, work out it was going to be 10 laps, and it was very likely to be group 3 because we've had group 4 the last 2 weeks. But it's difficult for me to justify putting the time in putting these videos together if I'm having to completely guess what car category it's going to be or how many laps it's going to be, because and then make a video and then it turns out it's not relevant and I can't use it. So the future of these racing strategy guides are a little bit in jeopardy unless we can come up with some other source of getting the full details for the daily race C. which is a big shame for me. It's a big part of the channel, it's what the channel was built on, so it's going to be a big blow to my channel overall. But ultimately it is what it is, there's not a lot I can do about it. Hopefully some other source of information for the daily race series is forthcoming and will allow me to keep making these race and strategy guides for Monday. But yeah, moving on to finish off the video with a lap guide. We're in the BMW M6 Sprint model. Let's do a lap of the Nurburgring GP. So coming down over the start finish line on the run down to turn 1, there's a slight kink to the right, downhill braking zone. You're looking for the 100 metre board as your reference. Now you do want to be braking just a little bit before that, because it's downhill. The sort of brakes are obviously not quite as effective. I use the kind of start of the grass usually as my braking point for turn 1. It tends to be quite effective. Now come down into first gear, there's a big bit of camber on the inside. On an FR car you can use that camber, on an MR car it can be a little bit more dangerous and can suddenly rotate the rear, so do be careful of that. Coming down here through the stadium section, as they call it, is a bit of a sort of flow section, a momentum section. You don't really tend to have braking points for this point. It's just a case of getting the car in the right position on the track to make sure you're taking the optimal line through there. Coming down to this braking zone, you've got the piece of track there for the sprint track. You've kind of got the 4 cones there. You're looking to get as close to the start of the white line on the other side of the part of the sprint track there. And then keep the car over to the left hand side, end of the curb here, it's a kind of braking reference, little dab of the brake, and then into this corner here. Car will naturally understeer through that right hander. It does tend to be a little bit off camber, very difficult to get on the power. And we're on the run down the hill to the Dunlop hairpin. So you're looking for the start of the grey curb on the left hand side as your braking reference. Now you can brake it just a little bit after that, get the car into the camber to try and help it slow down, and then you can drift a little bit wide of the apex and kind of almost do like a V shape on the corner there, and it shouldn't lose you too much time. Give you a better run up the hill for the Schumacher-esque, which has did a little bit of a lift. Certainly, maybe in qualifying could be full throttle, but in the race I did tend to find you had to give it a little bit of a lift. Now coming down to this left-hander here, this is probably the corner that's easiest to kind of outbrake yourself, and it will cost you a lot more time than you might expect. So 100 metre board of the gantry above is your reference. Now you can't go quite as far as 100 metre board, you will go a little bit too deep into the corner, but you're looking to get as close to that 100 metre board as you possibly can. Now we're on to the back straight, we're on the run down to the chicane everybody loves, maybe not quite as much as the chicane at Catalunya, but 100 metre board is your reference. Now again, you want to be braking a little bit before that, because you're going to have to monster these curbs to get a really good lap time. So braking a little bit early actually sort of helps you just to kind of straight line the chicane a little bit more. So big clunk of curb on both sides, aim for the bollard at the second part, you'll get a satisfying sound as you hit that. Then come into the last corner, I use the kind of white truck on the inside of the corner as my reference, just as that is about to go out of sight. Little dab of the brakes, down into second gear, and then get the car into the apex. Again, be careful on the throttle, easy to understeer, out wide there, hit that gravel, and then that will compromise you all the way down start finish straight. But that's a lap of the Nurburgring GP in the BMW M6. It's not likely to be the race car. I can see that being the Nissan GTR from 2018, but it's not too bad a race. The strategy is a little bit more, there's a little bit more strategy to it than it might first look like. But again, the only thing I will say about this race is we've been here, we've done this PD, we've been to the Nurburgring GP in Group 3. There's plenty of tracks we've never visited. Come on PD, let's start using the full scope of the game that is available. But yeah, it should be fun. It's a good combination despite the fact it's been overused. Do join me for a couple of live streams over the course of the week if you can. You'll find a friendly place in the chat, but nice to see you in there. But yeah, hopefully the video's been useful in some way, shape or form. If it has, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.